All right, so as we finish the chapter 4 notes here, we talked about a little bit about the homework. So check your devices at home. Do you have skylights? Do you have Energy Star rated appliances, programmable thermostat, motion sensing lights? What's your water heater like? What's your furnace like? Do you see any of this on your furnace? Your furnace probably will have one of these on. And then notice anything that has the Energy Star on it. So just explore, look around. Some of you may have really old things that don't have any of these stickers or labels on. That's fine. Maybe just write that down, and notice that the heater in my room, the portable heater in my room is really old. It does not have an Energy Star. It's probably not that efficient. Just make comment on every little thing that uses energy in your house as much as you can. And just write that in the space below in your notes, okay, provided. You can hand that in with your notes. Okay, so here we are. Transportation. All right, we're talking about energy use. The transportation sector is Canada's largest contributor to climate change. It accounts for about 20% of all Canada's greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, transportation. So we're talking about vehicles, right? Transportation. The greatest opportunity for Canadians to conserve energy is through transportation. Limiting the frequency and distance traveled in a vehicle, using fuel-efficient or electric vehicles, carpooling, just a few examples of conservation ideas in transportation. So yeah, when things are driven by money, you tend to pay attention to them. And lots of things in the world are driven by money. Money that you make or money that you pay. And so when you're buying gas is expensive. And so if you're making unnecessary trips, your wallet tells you that you should probably change that. It's part of why the carbon tax is around, so it costs more to move around. That's a different story. You guys did some research on the carbon tax, whether it's working or not. What did you guys, let's just pause there for a second. Is the carbon tax working? Have emissions in Canada gone down since the carbon tax has been implemented? What did you guys find? I read some of your stuff. Now, what do you remember about that? Did anyone look up actual emissions and what's been happening since the carbon tax came in? I mean, it was first started about 2007, started taxation, right? Has there been a drastic change since then?
For us, I think I didn't see much great change on that.
Yeah, you haven't seen much great change. Yeah, no, I think there's been a lot of great change. So that's why some people are wondering if this is actually doing what it's supposed to do, right? So the carbon tax is supposed to make people that are using fossil fuels pay more so they would use less.
Yeah.
So we should see the emissions go down. That was the goal. Charge more for this stuff so that people will use less so their emissions go down. But yeah, I don't think the data really tells us that it's gone down that much. Other than, there's been something like electric cars and things like that, but certainly globally, I think the emissions have gone the other way.
Sure,
So that's part of the issues with these taxes, right? Sometimes they work on a local level, sometimes they don't work on a global level, sometimes they don't come up with the desired change at all. All right, so so when you think about how many trips you make, or how fast you drive, even to use more fuel, drive a little bit slower, a little bit easier, you'll save more fuel. Don't make the extra trip. If you're running errands or if you're going for groceries, make sure you have a big list before you go, or make sure that you hit a couple places while you're out, that kind of thing. Certainly carpooling, right? If you're going somewhere and it's just you, and there's 5 of you going to the same place and each drive a different vehicle, right? Well, maybe it's a good idea to think about carpooling, not just for cost, but also for saving the environment a bit. All right, let's talk about hybrid vehicles. Hybrid electric vehicles are powered by a combination of gasoline and battery power. Pure electric vehicles are only battery powered. What kind of fossil fuels are involved in generating electricity is a question that's a good question to ask about now. Some of the electricity that comes through our household receptacles require fossil fuels to generate. So 2 things here. First of all, the hybrid car, there's an engine, a traditional engine, and electric motor. So usually when there's, you're pulling something or acceleration situations, the conventional gas-powered motor is used. And then if you're coasting or if you're just driving nicely, easily, the electric motor kicks in. And then you can recharge the battery, I think, a little bit while you go. And so there's a lot of hybrid vehicles out there too that kind of have a little combination of both. You can rely on the combustion, the fuel combustion engine in cold and really hot temperatures, so you don't have to worry about electric motors failing or using too much battery power. So kind of a nice idea. When this came out, this was a pretty good idea. But again, it was unproven technology, so some people got it. It was really expensive. And they liked it, but you know, charging stations and yeah. The other thing is there's electricity. There's fossil fuels involved in producing our electricity, right? Generating stations. Not all of it is wind and solar and water, but a lot of it is burning coal. A lot of it is fuel trucks that carry materials and things like that. Big boats that carry materials across the Atlantic and Pacific, and yeah, it uses fuel. You know, so to build or to create electricity, sometimes it's not as clean as we think. We think, well, the wind is blowing. There we go. I can drive around. But that in between, right? The in between definitely costs us something. So this is a very important question. What kind of fossil fuels are involved in generating electricity? That is something that you guys should look more into. All right, let's continue. So that is part of your homework. Let's see, research the fossil fuel use in generating electricity versus the use in gas-powered vehicles. Okay, so this is a big question, but what I want you to do is I want you to research that a little bit more and what sort of fossil fuels are required to generate electricity. Okay, that's an easy search. Look around, look at some articles, read some things. Is electricity really that efficient? So when we talk about zero emissions for electric cars, well, that's great, but what cost does that car or that electricity come at? So this is an important question I want you to answer. And again, I want you to answer in the space in your notes. So I want to see your answer when you hand in your notes at the end of the chapter. Okay, so is electricity really that efficient? This is more of an opinion question, but once you find out how much actual non-renewable resources are used to generate electricity, then it's up to you to decide. Say, yes, it's much less, so I like it, it's worth it. Or no, it's barely less than cars would use or very efficient cars would use, so no, I'm not for it. I want to hear your voice there. As we continue on, let's talk about hydrogen fuel cell cars. So hydrogen cars, you heard of hydrogen cars? Yeah, it's a little different than straight pure electric cars, but it's similar. Let's read about it. Hydrogen fuel cells create electric current that can run a motor in a vehicle. Hydrogen and oxygen gas enter the fuel cell and water leaves the fuel cell as an end product. So we're talking about emissions. Really all we're generating is water. We're taking the constituents of water, hydrogen and oxygen, slamming them together. There's energy that's released that goes to power a battery that can run our electric car. And the end product is really just water, which is kind of cool. Water, it's okay. If a car produces water, leaves some moisture in the air or whatever, that's generally not a problem. So Canada is seen as a leader in fuel cell technology. So we obviously need hydrogen fuel to fill up a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle as opposed to just electricity. So the electricity would go straight to the battery, right? The hydrogen fuel goes into the apparatus that uses the hydrogen to create the electricity, to feed the battery. Okay? Which is more efficient? Well, again, it depends on how much cost there is in generating this electricity here, right? And how much cost and availability hydrogen fuel will be. So this is also something that's worth looking into. All right, on page 111, if you can turn there, if you have your textbook with you. Page 111, there are questions to help you guide your actions in moving towards a sustainable future. So I like this page. I did not include everything in here, but I did include some things in your notes. So sample questions include, how can I avoid overpackaged processed foods and beverages, or over-packaging in processed foods and beverages? How can I avoid those overpackaged processed foods? How often do I have to travel? Okay, you'll see these questions on page 111. There's more that I didn't write down, but can I avoid unnecessary travel in a motor vehicle? How can I conserve energy at home? Can I buy a more efficient product, such as light bulbs and appliances? Can I consider Energy Star labels when I shop? How can I use less energy for recreation, and so on? So the categories are food, transportation, buildings, consumer goods, entertainment, and recreation. So there's lots of questions there, and I think this is really, really excellent for us to consider how we can be more efficient and use fewer resources. So again, part of your homework, I'm not going to be doing as many homework textbook questions, but I am going to be asking you questions like in your notes here to reflect upon. So read each of these questions and ask yourself how you can change your lifestyle to be more energy sustainable. Record your ideas below. I'm not going to give you a number. You should have at least probably 5 to 10 at least, or I mean maybe even 10 or more. Like you should be able to have ideas of what you can do. Once you read through all those questions, list what sort of possible things that you could do, and don't say invent a new technology that uses, you know, only human spit to power the world. Okay, like, you know, maybe that's a goal, but I'm talking about what can you do now, right? You know, don't list the unimaginable things necessarily, but read through those questions and make some answers. And I did put some of these that were my favorite ones. These are easy. You guys aren't necessarily buying wash machines for your house, I know, as 15, 16-year-olds, but yeah, when you do buy something, will you keep in mind, hey, I want to look for that Energy Star label. So it'll save me money, it'll save the environment some resources. Okay, also page 120 and 121, you can read about environmental science careers. So part of our course is exploring careers related to environmental science. And so at the end of pretty much every chapter, they highlight a few careers. So I want you to make sure that you don't bypass that. Okay, so I do have some chapter 4 review questions for you, and you have some stuff in your notes that I want you to work on. And of course, as I mentioned, I want you to read through your textbook, because the textbook has important information that will really help you understand what we're talking about. These are just the highlights. These notes are just the highlights, okay? All right, let's see, I think I have one more page here. Okay, and finally, I think this is maybe your third bit of homework prompt for this class, but find out what kind of furnace you have in your home. This is specific. Is there an EnerGuide sticker on your furnace? So you may have looked this up already with the energy efficiencies in your home, but I do want you to make sure that you check your furnace out, okay? You might see this EnerGuide sticker on there. Okay, what is its energy efficiency? Write down how many kilowatt hours a year that you will spend on energy on that, if there's a sticker, and a lot of your furnaces will. Is it Energy Star rated? Do you have the blue Energy Star sticker on it? Ask your parents or caregivers to give you research, to help you with your research in your furnace. Record your findings below. Just a note too, if you go down to your furnace room and you're digging around the furnace, maybe let your parents or caregivers know that you want to do this or you need to do this for your school. Don't hurt yourself, or, you know, don't start taking the furnace apart. Oh, there's a sticker in here somewhere, and then, you know, gas yourself and cause trouble. But anyways, let your parents know that you want to look around the furnace and that kind of thing too. Okay, so here are the questions from the chapter 4. Have them written down here below. So that's page 117, 1, 8, 13, and 18. And as I mentioned, this notes package with those little pieces of homework prompts, all that needs to be filled out, as well as the questions. I'll expect those to be handed in. Your completed notes with little homework prompts and all that sort of stuff, so you'll get some homework assignment marks at the end of the chapter here.